Given the state of the training and professional development industry, it's in a very pitiful, state right now because of the ongoing and raging COVID pandemic. So what's going to happen to this industry? Because we're into the second year of the pandemic, and then there will be a third year and further restrictions because, now they're saying that vaccination alone is not enough, that, there needs to be taken over and over again, and then, they come up with new restrictions. So basically, virtual training is not really a way to solve this problem because, let's face it, a lot of people, they suffer from this Zoom fatigue and this working remotely and this virtual connection, is definitely making everyone tick. So, yet at the same time, this human connection, face-to-face training and this, professional development that constitutes the core of any training needed for employees, that's definitely a challenge, just because there's no money for it, and the circumstances don't allow for a full-fledged development. At the same time, there's another component because everyone in survival mode, so therefore they do not think long-term about their professional development. And as a result, they're not looking forward to have any trainings or to have anything to do with it, just because, everybody lives in the now and that what's going to happen now, and they're not thinking long-term. And even the ones who are thinking about the future, they actually try to think of the future where things are back to the norm, and then they can clear this gap and end up in that future, things will be back to the normal. I mean, that's another way of doing this. That's how people think. And then there's definitely the ones who just don't see, actually do feel they need a lot of, coaching and therapy just because of the pressures that they experience, not only necessarily just driven by the heightened level of toxicity in companies, but also because of the pressures in terms of delivery. That's definitely for a lot of people. That's something that they are trying to cope with internally, but it just exacerbates the problem. So therefore, by shelving this need to actually find a way to cope with it, they just make it even worse for themselves. But again, like I said, everybody tries to ignore the momentum now, so they project their aspirations into the near future, and they think that we just need to go through all of this, and then we'll deal with the rest. But the same thing for business executives who are also pressured, they're under a lot of strain. They're groaning under this strain because they've got to deliver a lot. There is a lot of pressure from stakeholders, shareholders, this competition in the market because of this, distorted market forces because of the COVID crisis. A lot of that is going on, and then the corruption is back, the fraud is back, the cyber fraud is back, and then, everyone's resources are stretched thin because they cannot deal with all these new challenges. But companies actually, end up sort of like losing money and losing to their competitors because of the, the situation not being entirely reflected in the media or in statistics in terms of what really is going on. Everyone, pretends they don't want to know. They don't want to know until there's a time to know. So like with President Biden now announcing this new anti-corruption effort, as if to revisit the fact that, okay, we've had 2 years, of COVID. Now it's time to actually punish those who've used the gray area and maybe corrupt ways of staying afloat. That's time to actually make them pay. So, well, yeah, that's one way of looking at it. But with the business executives, they actually need, because, everybody expects them to serve as role models for employees and communities and what have you. They need to be in a better shape to be able to lead, to lead their companies, to lead employees, to lead and show to, their stakeholders they're doing a lot, because the pressure from stakeholders is mounting. The younger generation, that they know that they won't have any of those riches, they won't be able to afford a house or a car. They think that using the woke momentum, they can raise their voice and actually start pointing fingers and bring down the companies who don't do what they expected to do, apart from the climate agenda, apart from other things, apart from inequality and social injustice, and then organizational injustice. There are so many things that they can pin down the companies for. So the companies are really stretched thing, trying to mitigate those risks, and whether they can do that or not, it still boils down to how executives deal with the issue. Whether they have the internal resources, whether they're empowered enough to do that, it's just a different story. Many of them may not survive this round, but some of them who would be able to actually look at the situation, and assess it, and then look for ways how they can get empowered so they can come out of this unscathed, hopefully. So that's another issue, if they can do that. So these business executives who are mature enough and understand the existing risks, and they're working on to mitigate them and also improve their market position and improve their standing in the eyes of their employees and stakeholders. That's what we're trying to do with our program, to help them come out of this more resilient, happy with their, with the quality of their life, happy with the new abilities that can get uncovered and reactivated as a result of this program. That's where our purpose lies, to make sure that we can make this crazy world a little bit less crazier, regardless of who's involved in actually making sure that craziness stays with us. At the same time, there are certain things that need to be dealt with right now. And with our T-Bay program, we are hoping to actually help some of those business leaders to deliver what they expected to deliver, what they are meant to deliver. So we just hope that it could help them get there and be seen as role models by so many. So stay tuned. We'll be covering this in other episodes.